David Goldflies played bass in the Allman Brothers from 1979 to 1982. He was Dickey's bassist actually from all the way from 1977 in Great Southern all the way to 83 with Betts Hall Leavell Trucks. And he's got a really interesting story, which I'll share with you here. The other thing I want to tell you, you know that song Black Betty by Ram Jam? Oh, Black Betty, Ram-a-Lam? Yeah, that's David Goldflies of the Allman Brothers playing bass. So here's David on Playing with Dickey. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
So he was a very definite person about his style, but within that, he was very broad. If you look over his work over all the years, after he passed away, I did some more research into Dickey, and it's just amazing how many different things he put his toes into musically.
Yeah.
Straight country stuff, jazz fusion stuff. I mean, I've played a lot of classical music since I played in the Allman Brothers, and frankly, his melodies and compositions and forms hold up to anything I've played by some of the greats. I mean, okay, you might not have been Mozart, but he's not that far off.
It's interesting you say that too, David, because it's always been you may not know, but it's always been Butch who gets the credit. Butch is the one most vocal about having a classical influence, and I've always heard classical influence in the Allman Brothers, multiple movements, dynamics in the music, these sorts of things.
Right.
Really got a chance to dive deep into Dickey's motivations, like as a songwriter and as an artist, because there's the caricature. There's the guy with the black eye who got in a fight with his bass player, which is why you got in the band in the first place.
Right, exactly.
And then there's this super sensitive, deep, introspective artist.
When we played the Central Park show, which is where the transition, the meeting happened of the reformation of the band. I was playing in Central Park, and we walked on stage with Great Southern, which means we had Mike Workman on the piano and keys. And we had Johnny Charbonneau on drums, David Toller on drums, and Danny Toller, of course, and Dickey and myself. Well, I looked around and Donnie Charbonneau wasn't there. There's Butch. And then I was playing a little bit more. I looked around and David Toller wasn't there. There was J-Mo. I said, wow, this is trippy. And I looked over and Greg Workman was gone. And I said, wow, that's Greg Allman. I said, wow, this is like the Allman Brothers Band, or what was left of it at the time. And we played that night, and everybody flipped out in the audience. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty cool, because it was kind of like the same music, but with the guys who really did it. It was very similar, but good. And so that's when I found out that, oh, there might be a reunion. Kid, what do I know? And Tom told me, hey, man, clean it up in the studio a little bit. A lot of those things you're doing live don't matter, but here they matter. And it is almost not a night when I'm playing with my band, A Brothers Revival, well, I don't think about how I'm playing and Tom's advice. And am I just making a bunch of rattling ass noise here? Am I playing like really good shit, And
that's awesome.
Tom's advice, it was a small comment, but it's a huge comment by a guy who was one of the quintessential producers of the 20th century, for sure. It's a nice
and a comment that could have destroyed your confidence if delivered wrong. It could have had the exact opposite effect on you or any musician, right? Like saying, hey, play different among these killers, and you could be like, oh, okay, but instead it was and I've heard this about him. He was a genius at that.
Yeah. Well, it worked or didn't work with me, but cleaned me up a little bit, which probably needed to happen. But
you get a chance to write with Dickey a pretty good little boogie blues song.
I'll try it one more time.
Try it one more time.
It's more of a funk than a boogie.
Okay, I'll go with that.
It was the first time like a popping and slapping bass sound had been in Allman Brothers songs, to my knowledge. But that they've got recorded and released, whatever. But that actually came from Dickey heard what I was playing and he liked it, and then it came from there. But how did I get what I played? It goes back to that what I mentioned earlier. I worked with a guy named Bill Bartlett who had a band. Bill had a song called "Right on the Money," and "Right on the Money" had a line like "Bo-do-ba, bo-do-ba-da." He had a line. It was different than the one that made it in "Try It One More Time." But I was just jacking around with. They're called sixths musically.
Yep.
It's like the interval of the sixth, right? And in blues they're used a lot. They're used a lot everywhere, but in blues they're used. And I was playing this thing, and Dickey kind of dug. He said, "What is that?"